नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So resuming our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, the birth of Emperor Parikshit. So all these great learned Brahmanas, the Vipras, they all came and they all forecasted about the extraordinary personality that has taken birth and how glorious his activities will be. And he compared them to great stalwart personalities. So Prabhupada talks in this purport, the last purport that we read, about three aspects of who is a Vipra, who is a Brahmana, and who is a Vaishnava. Who remembers? This was last what we discussed when the glorification of Maharaj Parikshit was done. So the last verse talks about there were Vipras, there were Brahmanas, and also the Vaishnavas. Anyone remembers? Who are the Vipras? Yeah, let us go one by one. Vipra. Who is the Vipra? Yes, Ravindra Prabhu, Priyanka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Vipro means they are the Karmakandi experts and guiding the society to fulfill the material desire.
Necessities, not desires. Necessities.
Yes, so.
Yeah. Yes. So those Brahmanas who are ritualistics, who engage the people in fruitive activities to attain material necessities of life. They are all Vipras. So most of the Brahmanas that we meet, they come into this category. They are Vipras. Okay, very good. Perfect answer. So who is a Brahmana? They are not the same. They are different. Pradeep, who are the Brahmanas? I want to see some change in you. Huh? Not that something, very utopian is being spoken. You have no knowledge or you have never heard. Don't you know what is a Brahmana? Who is a Brahmana?
One who is immersed with Vedic knowledge.
Vedic knowledge. Which aspect of Vedic knowledge? Like Ravindra Prabhu gave very specific, clear answer. Do you remember Manoram Prabhu?
Prabhuji, it was Gyan Kanda.
Yes.
Gyan.
Jnana. Very good. Okay. And Vaishnavas are those who give direct knowledge of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay. So going further. Verse number 30. Saesha loke vekyata parikshiditi yat prabhu purvam drishtam anudhyayan pariksheta nareshuya. Saesha loka vikyata. So he'll become famous in this world. How he'll become famous? As Parikshit iti yat prabhu. The child would become famous in the world as Parikshit. Parikshit means one who is always examining, because he would come to examine all human beings in search of that personality whom he saw before his birth. Purvam drishtam anudhyayan. So whom did he see before birth? He saw Lord Krishna within the womb protecting him. So thus he was constantly examining everyone, because he was searching after the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he would come to constantly contemplate him. So such a high spiritual platform Parikshit Maharaj was having from his birth, that he was always remembering and contemplating about the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Parikshit, fortunate as he was, got the impression of the Lord even in the womb of his mother, and thus his contemplation on the Lord was constantly with him. Once the impression of the transcendental form of the Lord is fixed in one's mind, one can never forget him in any circumstance. Child Parikshit, after coming out of the womb, was in the habit of examining everyone to see whether he was the same personality whom he first saw in the womb. But no one could be equal to or more attractive than the Lord, and therefore he never accepted anyone. But the Lord was constantly with him by such examination. This is the very higher form of meditation or constant remembrance. And thus Maharaj Parikshit was always engaged in devotional service of the Lord by remembrance. That is Smaranam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, and the result of Smaranam. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks in his connection that any child, if given an impression of the Lord from his very childhood, would certainly become a great devotee of the Lord like Maharaj Parikshit. Very important purport. Please hear very attentively those who are in the Grastha Ashram. I was thinking about you, Dayashil. You just joined. Can you hear Dayashil? You are muted, bhai. Unmute and speak. Is my voice reaching you, Dayashil Prabhu?
No, Prabhuji, no. Today I am not able to hear properly. Voice is very low.
But you joined just now. How can you hear? You are again muted. Everyone else is able to hear? I think the connection is quite normal.
Audio is clear.
Yes.
Audio is clear. There is some problem at your end, which I am able to make out from here.
I will log out and again log in, Prabhu.
Yeah, where is Ramya? Okay, she is also joined.
Because Prabhuji.
Please hear very attentively what Srila Jiva Goswami is speaking. It is all for those who are in the Grastha Ashram. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks in this connection that any child, if given an impression of the Lord from his very childhood, will certainly become a great devotee of the Lord like Parikshit Maharaj. One may not be as fortunate as Maharaj Parikshit, who had the opportunity to see the Lord in the womb of his mother. But even if one is not so fortunate, he can be made so if the parents of the child desire him to be so. This is the most important aspect. If the parents of the child desire that the child becomes a devotee, this is not happening. Very unfortunately, the so-called devotee parents, they don't have this desire that their devotee should become first-class devotees. I see and I can feel they still have material aspirations and material motivations. And then we see what the child becomes. He becomes a rebellious child. And the reason for that is the seed is not properly put in the heart of the parents. You see, Jiva Goswami has not written the purport now. Jiva Goswami is so clearly exposing that if the parents of the child desires it to be so. So this is the problem. They still have aspiration that my child should have best material education. Or the child should have so-called material career or life. Long back, we met this time our friend Sahadev Prabhu, with whom I performed my first Braj Pandal Parikrama. So when I was going initially, when I came in, so I used to go from Delhi when I got the opportunity to Vrindavan, and I didn't take my car. I was going through a bus, a public transport bus. So in one bus journey, I met Sahadev Prabhu, and one other bus journey, I met another person from Vrindavan. He was from Radharaman Goswami community. Radharaman Dev has many of their dedicated families. They are called the Goswamis. They live in the vicinity of the temple. If you go to Radharaman temple, you will find surrounding there are many such Goswamis. And he was from one such family. So while we were talking, I asked him that how are you coming from Delhi? So he told me that he is doing an engineering, degree, an engineering BTech somewhere in Delhi, in some private college. So I am asking him that what is the need for you to do this engineering degree when you already have the lineage of service of Sri Radharaman Dev? Then he told me he has aspirations to go abroad. I told him that I meet devotees who are coming from America and Europe. They want to come to Vrindavan and get an opportunity to serve the Lord. And you are born in Vrindavan with this opportunity and you don't want to pursue this and want to go back. Then he shared with me, this is the same what my parents also want. That is why Srila Jiva Goswami is pointing out. When the devotees, so-called devotees, actually they are not devotees. When the so-called devotee's child become a non-devotee, the reason for that is that the parents do not have the desire that the child should become a devotee. And Srila Jiva Goswami is highlighting this very important defect which is there. Now, what is the reason? When the yatras will be there, they will not bring their children. Why? Because if they bring their children, then they will get the strong impression. This is what Srila Jiva Goswami is saying. That if the impression is there from the early age, if any child is given an impression of the Lord from his very childhood, will certainly become a great devotee of the Lord like Maharaj. This is the great benediction of blessing Srila Jiva Goswami is giving. And you know why Srila Jiva Goswami is giving so? This was from his very childhood. Srila Jiva Goswami, he was the son of, what is the father name of Srila Jiva Goswami? Who is the father of Srila Jiva Goswami? Let me see how much you are remembering the Acharyas. Only one. One hand is up. Out of these 6 Goswamis, is Jiva Goswami, the youngest Goswami. Ganesh, welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam discourse. Boli.
जी
Don't tell me Rup Goswami. Rup Goswami is his guru, not his father.
नहीं प्रभु नहीं
Maximum connection. Manoram Prabhu? Okay. Before Manoram, let me ask Dayashil Prabhu. Dayashil Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can you repeat the question, Prabhuji?
What is the name of the father of Srila Jiva Goswami? Who is the father of Srila Jiva Goswami?
Anupam, Srila Anupam Goswami, Prabhuji.
Yes. Or Sri Vallabh. He is the younger brother of Srila Sanatan Goswami. Yes. So Rup and Sanatan Goswami left early. The first to leave was Srila Rup Goswami. And when Rup and Sanatan Goswami left the palatial jobs from Nawab Hussain Shah, so his father also left. And both of them, Srila Rup Goswami and Sri Vallabh Goswami, they traveled to Prayag, and he was in his earthly pastime. He was a great devotee of Lord Ram, Sri Vallabh Goswami, Sri Vallabh. And somehow he passed away. And Rup Goswami, elder, and Sanatan Goswami, they all left the house. So the house was without any elderly male person. So the mother of Srila Jiva Goswami, she raised the child in a very Krishna conscious way. The best play for Srila Jiva Goswami in his childhood was that he had the deities of Krishna and Balram. And he would serve them, and his mother in his infancy taught him Srimad Bhagavatam. Like we see the parents of Amoha. They are making her memorize Srimad Bhagavatam. So the mother used to speak and explain Srimad Bhagavatam to him since his childhood birth. And when he was in his infancy, less than 3 years, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Ramkeli. And he accepted both Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. At that time, they made Jeev Goswami get the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya placed both his lotus legs on the forehead of Srila Jeev Goswami. So that impression was there from his childhood. Remember Jeev Goswami. Jeev Goswami is speaking from his own realization, from his own experience. Very important. If you miss school one day, no impression will change. Because the child will, of course, pick up that impression. That material impression is very easy to pick up. That is by default. But to imbibe spiritual impression, this is what Srila Jeev Goswami is explaining. But even if one is not so fortunate, like Parikshit Maharaj, he can be made so if the parents of the child desire him to be so. There is a practical example in my personal life in this connection. My father was a pure devotee of the Lord, and when I was only 4 or 5 old, my father gave me a couple of forms of Radha and Krishna in a playful manner. I used to worship these deities along with my sister, and I used to imitate the performance of neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. Who is saying this? Who is speaking this?
Prabhupada.
Huh?
Prabhupada.
Yeah, it is Prabhupada. Because the personal deities of Jeev Goswami is Krishna and Balram. As I said, not Radha and Krishna. So Prabhupada is speaking from his own realization that when he was a child, his father, Srila Gaur Mohan De, if you read the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada is dedicated to Srila Gaur Mohan De, his father. And he says, my father was a pure devotee. And since my childhood, he gave me the deities of Radha and Krishna to worship. And he taught me Mridanga. Another aspect, we should train our children in such a way that from their early age, they start playing instrument and singing bhajans. That is why in every yatra, I encourage all the child artists to perform. They must be trained. This is the duty. This is the first and the foremost duty of a grihastha, to make their children become Krishna conscious. And it will be reflected how much? To the extent that their heart is Krishna conscious. And if they are making a show, their sons and daughters will not be devotees, if they have material aspirations in their heart. So very important. We should not miss out, and we should not try to imitate what the karmis and the materialistic persons are thinking or speaking or doing. The Prabhupada is saying, my father was a pure devotee of the Lord, and when I was only 4 or 5 years old, my father gave me a couple of forms of Radha and Krishna, not one deity. In a playful manner, I used to worship these deities along with my sister. And I used to imitate the performance of neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. Prabhupada used to every day go and visit and stand there for hours, gazing the beauty of their lordships. By constantly visiting this neighboring temple and copying the ceremonies in connection with my own deities of play, I developed a natural affinity for the Lord. My father used to observe all the ceremonies befitting my position. Later on, these activities were suspended due to my association in the school and college. So Prabhupada is giving his own experience. And as soon as you send your children to the school and college, what will happen? Their interest will go down. And I became completely out of practice. But in my youthful days, when I met my spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, again I revived my own old habit. And the same playful deities became my worshipable deities in proper regulation. This was followed up until I left the family connection. And now I am pleased And I am now pleased that my generous father gave the first impression, which was developed later into regulative devotional service by his divine grace. Maharaj Prahlad also advised that such impression of a godly relation must be impregnated from the beginning of the child. Otherwise, one may miss the opportunity of human form of life, which is very valuable though it is temporary like others. You see, so Prabhupada is pouring his heart out and calling out to all of us. This is the only purpose that a devotee marries. If he is a devotee, that he will bring Krishna conscious child in this world. And if he is not able to do that, then he is not influenced the life. He is a Grahmedi. He may just make a show or speak whatever. Very clearly, Srila Prabhupada is bringing this feature out. And believe me, my teacher told me that this generation is very difficult to make pure devotee. But he gave me this aspiration. He said, but from the devotees that we are cultivating, at least the next generation that comes can become a pure devotee. And how they can become pure devotee? If they are given this samskara from birth. We are very worried about their career, but we are never worried about their spiritual upliftment. And then we complain that they are like worldly childs. Why? Because we don't give the impression. Why we don't give the impression? Because we don't have the aspiration or the desire. The desire is that he should bring money and success. Then the fault is not of the child, the fault is our own. And we are making him an instrument to fulfill our material desire. Then you see what the child will become. So please be very, very clear in your mind, not to have such worldly and material aspirations from the child. It is a big disease which has spread in our Krishna conscious society like anything. One devotee I know him from close. He asked his child to learn guitar. I said, why you are asking to learn guitar? If at all he has to learn, let him learn mridanga or kartal. Where is the need to learn guitar? Prabhupada never appreciated such instruments in Kirtan. So, very important. So, this is G. Goswami saying that if the parents have the desire, then the child becomes a devotee. That is very rare. That will only happen if the parent has become Krishna conscious. If the parent themselves are not Krishna conscious, their aspirations for their child to become Krishna conscious is completely a farce. It is a show. And how the child has to be trained and cultivated, Srila Prabhupada is explaining in this purport. He is giving his own example. If we in our practice are pure, the result will be the next generation will become pure devotee. And if we in our practice are weak and we are only making a show, then the next generation will be a non-devotee. So here the glory of Parikshit Maharaj is being revealed. Since his birth, he had the opportunity. Why? Because his mother and his grandmother both prayed to the Lord. Uttara Devi also prayed and Kunti Devi also prayed. Further, going ahead, Sarajputra Vavardhe Asu Shuklo Ivo Dupaha Apuryamana Pitrabhi Kashtabhirivaso Anvaham. As the moon in its waxing fortnight develops days after days, so the royal prince Parikshit very soon developed luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfathers. Who are the guardian grandfathers? Quickly you should answer. Yes, Manoram bro.
The one will be Yudhishthir Maharaj.
Grandfathers, not grandfather. You should have the answer. Along with Yudhishthir, Bhima was not there. Arjuna was not there. They are all grandfathers, great grandfathers. Yakshemana Ashwamedhena Janati Drojisaya Raja Labda Dhanodadhyo Na Nanyatra Karadandayo. Just at that time, King Yudhishthir was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from the sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collections. So this is what happened. We all know that after the war was over, and then Maharaj Yudhishthir, he organized a Ashwamedh. As the Brahmanas and Vipras had the right to be subsidized by the state executive head had the right to collect taxes and fines from the citizens. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the state treasury was exhausted, and therefore there was no surplus funds except the funds from tax collections and fines. Such funds were sufficiently only for the state budget. And having no excess funds, the king was anxious to get more wealth in some other way in order to perform the horse sacrifice. Maharaj Yudhishthir wanted to perform his sacrifice under the instructions of Bhishma Dev. Tad abhipretam alakshaya Bharata achyuchodita dhanam prahinam ajarur udikshayam dishi bhurisha. Understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north, left by King Maruta. So Maharaj Marut was one of the great emperors of the world. He reigned over the world long before the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was the son of Maharaj Abhikshit and was a great devotee of the sun god known as Yamaraj. His brother Samvarta was a rival priest of the great Brahaspati. The learned priest of the demigods, he conducted a sacrifice called Shankara Yagna, by which the Lord was so satisfied that he was pleased to hand over to him the charge of the mountain peak of gold. What is that mountain peak of gold? Very famous. Yes, Ramya? That is how the answer.
Hare Krishna Prabhu says Sumeru.
Yes,
Sumeru Parvat.
Sumeru Parvat. This is Mount Sumeru. And because he had the gold peak at his disposal, he had sufficient gold in his possession. The canopy of the sacrificial altar was completely made of gold. In his daily performance of the sacrificial ceremonies, some of the inhabitants of the Vayu Loka, airy planets, were invited to expedite the cooking work of the ceremony. And the assembly of the demigods in the ceremony was led by Vishwadeva. By his constant pious work, he was able to drive out all kinds of disease from the jurisdiction of his kingdom. All the inhabitants of higher planets like the Devalok and Pitralok were pleased with him for his great sacrificial ceremonies. Every day he used to give in charity to learned Brahmanas such things as bedding, seats, conveyance, and sufficient quantities of gold. Because of munificent charities and performance of innumerable sacrifices, the king of heaven Indradev was fully satisfied with him and always wished for his welfare. Due to his pious activities, he remained young. He remained young man throughout his life and reigned the world for 1000 years, surrounded by his satisfied subjects, ministers, legitimate wives, sons, and brothers. Even Lord Sri Krishna praised his spirit of pious activities. He handed over his only daughter to Maharishi Angira and by Angira's good blessing, he was elevated to the kingdom of heaven. First of all, he wanted to offer the priesthood of his sacrifice to Lord Brihaspati. But the demigod refused to accept the post because of the king being a human being, a man of this earth. He was very sorry for this, but on the advice of Narad Muni, he appointed Samvarta to the post, and he was successful in his mission. The success of the particular type of sacrifice completely depends on the priest in charge. Very important. In this age, all kinds of sacrifices are forbidden because there is no learned priest among the so-called Brahmanas who go by the false notion of being Brahmanas by virtue of being the son of the Brahmanas, but who lack Brahminical qualifications. In this age of Kali, therefore, one kind of sacrifice is recommended, Sankirtan Yagna, as inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Going further, so this is talking about the elaborate arrangements for the Ashwamedh Yagna, which was performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira. Ten samvrita sambharo dharma putra Yudhishthira yagyamedhe tribhir bhito yagne samya janadharim. By those riches, the king could procure the ingredients for 3 horse sacrifices, not one Ashwamedh Yagna, but for 3. Thus the pious king Yudhishthira, who was very fearful after the battle of Kurukshetra, pleased Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Maharaj Yudhishthira was the ideal and celebrated pious king of the world. And still, he was greatly afraid after the execution of the battle of Kurukshetra because of the mass killing in the fight, all of which was done only to install him to the throne. He therefore took all the responsibility for sins committed in the warfare. And to get rid of all these sins, he wanted to perform 3 sacrifices in which horses were offered at the altar. Such a sacrifice is very costly. Even Maharaj Yudhishthira had to collect the necessary heaps of gold left by Maharaj Maruta and the Brahmanas who had been given gold in charity by King Maruta. The learned Brahmanas could not take away all the loads of gold given by Maharaj Maruta, and therefore they left behind the major portion of the gift. It's very unusual story. The Brahmanas, this is actual Brahmanas, they left behind the major portion of the gift. And what was the gift? Gold. And Maharaj Marut also did not again collect such heaps of gold given in charity. Besides that, all the golden plates and utensils which were used in the sacrifice were thrown in the dustbins. And all such heaps of gold remained unclaimed property for a long time, till Maharaj Yudhishthira collected them for his own purposes. Lord Sri Krishna advised the brothers of Maharaj Yudhishthira to collect the unclaimed property because it belonged to the king. The more astonishing thing is that no subject of the state also collected such unclaimed gold for industrial enterprise or anything like that. This means that the state citizens were completely satisfied with all necessities of life and therefore not inclined to accept unnecessary productive enterprises for sense gratification. Maharaj Yudhishthira also requisitioned the heap of gold for performing sacrifice and for pleasing the Supreme Hari, the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, he had no desire to collect them for the state treasury. One should take lessons from the acts of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was afraid of sins committed on the battlefield, and therefore he wanted to satisfy the supreme authority. This indicates that unintentional sins are also committed in our daily occupational discharge of duties. And to counteract even such unintentional crimes, one must perform sacrifice, as they are recommended in the revealed scripture. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Yagnarthat karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Bhagavad Gita 3.9. That one must perform sacrifice recommended in the scriptures in order to get rid of commitments of all unauthorized work or even unintentional crimes which we are apt to commit. By doing so, one shall be freed from all kinds of sins. And those who do not do so, but work for self-interest or self-gratification, have to undergo all tribulations accrued from committed sins. Therefore, the main purpose of performing sacrifice is to satisfy the Supreme Personality Hari. The process of performing sacrifices may be different in terms of different times, places, and persons. But the aim of such sacrifice is one and the same at all times and in all circumstances. That is the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Hari. That is the way of pious life, and that is the way of peace and prosperity in the world at large. Maharaj Yudhishthira did all this as an ideal pious king in the world. If Maharaj Yudhishthira is a sinner in his daily discharge of duty, in royal administration of state affairs, wherein killing of man and animal is a recognized art, then we can just imagine the amount of sins committed consciously or unconsciously by the untrained population of the Kali Yuga, who are not performing any sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord. The Bhagavatam says, therefore, the prime duty of the human being is to satisfy the Supreme Lord by performance of one's occupational duty. What is the verse? 1 to 13. We have all done this verse. What is the verse? Yes, they are Shilpa.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी सबै पुंस परधर्म यतो भक्ति अदोक्षजे अहेतु की अप्रत्यत ये आत्मा सुप्रसिद्धति.
Yes, I think this is the verse. Let me click and see. This should be the verse. Yes. So this is the Varnashram. Atha Pumbi Dvijaya Sreshta Varnashram Vibhagasha Swanuchitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshna. It is sequel, almost the same. So the purpose of the Varnashram is Samsiddhir Haritoshna, that we are able to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So all the endeavor and the effort made by Maharaj Parikshit is only for one purpose, and that purpose is only to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing else. Let any man of any place or community, caste or creed be engaged in any sort of occupational duty, but he must agree to perform sacrifice that is recommended in the scriptures for a particular place, time, and person. In the Vedic literature, it is recommended that in the Kali Yuga, people engage in glorifying the Lord by chanting the holy name of Krishna without offense. And that by doing so, one can be freed from all sins and thus can attain the highest perfection of life, returning home back to Godhead. This is the final, one of the final cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Bhajet. What verse is this? Very famous verse. Twelve 3:15. What verse is this? The last line is given here. Kirtana Deva Sangasya Mukta Sangha Param Vijay. How it begins? From where it begins? Very famous verse of Sankirtan. Yes, Pranab Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी कलेर दुष निधे राजन स्ति एकम महान गुण.
Yes. Kirtana Deva.
इतना तैव कृष्णस्य मुक्त संग परम भज.
Yes. Very good. We should be knowing all these verses. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vijay. Kaler Dosha Nidhi Rajan Asti Eko Mahan Guna Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vijay. So although this age is full of fault, Kala Dosha. And how much is the fault? Nidhi. Nidhi means like a ocean. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of fault, still there is one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So that is the benediction. Kirtana Deva Sangasya, Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vijay. He can be freed from all the dosha. We have already discussed this more than once in this great literature in different ways, especially in the introductory portion, by sketching the life of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And still we are repeating the same with a view to bring about peace and prosperity in society. The Lord has declared openly in the Bhagavad Gita, He becomes pleased with us. And the same process is practically demonstrated in the life and preaching work of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The perfect process of performing yajnas or sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead, who gets us free from all miseries of existence, is to follow the ways of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this dark age of quarrel and dissections. Maharaj Yudhishthir had to collect heaps of gold to secure the paraphernalia for the horse sacrifice yajnas in days of sufficiency. So we can hardly think of such performance of yajnas in these days of insufficiency and complete scarcity of gold. At the present moment, we have heaps of papers and promises of their being converted into gold by economic development of modern civilization. And still there is no possibility of spending riches like Maharaj Yudhishthir, either individually or collectively by the state patronization. Just suitable for the age, therefore, is the method recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in terms of the Shastra. Such a method requires no expenditure at all and yet can award more benefit than others expensive methods of yajna performance. The horse sacrifice yajna or cow sacrifice yajna performed in the Vedic regulation shouldn't be misunderstood as a process of killing animals. On the contrary, animals offered for the yajna were rejuvenated to a new span of life by the transcendental power of chanting the Vedic hymns, which if properly chanted are different from what is understood by the common layman. The Ved mantras were all practical and the proof is the rejuvenation of the sacrificed animal. There is no possibility of such methodical chanting of the Vedic hymns by the so-called Brahmanas or priests of the present age. The untrained descendants of the twice-born families are not like their forefathers, and thus they are counted amongst the Shudras or once-born men. The once-born man is unfit to chant the Vedic hymns, and therefore there is no practical utility of chanting the original hymns. What a extraordinary way of putting the perspective by Srila Prabhupada. How is he condemning the entire Brahmana community? By using the word? What is Prabhupada's contribution here? He is using the word once born. Brahmana should mean twice born. So Prabhupada said they are not Brahmanas. They are not Dvija. They are not twice born. First birth is the seminal birth, which comes from mother and father. What is the second birth? What is the second birth? When they are given the samskara to study Shastra. If then they don't have that adhikar. Prabhupada is saying they don't have even the adhikar. They don't qualify. So Prabhupada is saying the once born man is unfit to chant the Vedic hymns, and therefore there is no practical utility of chanting the original hymns. And to save them all, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu propounded the Sankirtan movement or yajna for all practical purposes, and the people of the present age are strongly recommended to follow this sure and organized path. Just a couple of 2 verses are left. I'll complete this chapter today. And who is having the presentation next? 5th chapter? Ravindra Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You promised for Tuesday, na? I
Yes,
gave you 1 day in between. So whatever is possible for you, I hope to come back. Tomorrow I'll be going to Vrindavan. There is a ceremony of Guru Maharaj's Samadhi. I don't want to miss that. I'll try to come to attend. In case if we have class, then I will hear from Ravindra Prabhu. I hope so that I'll be able to come back. So you be please prepared. Yeah, tomorrow kindly put in a little bit of effort to present.
Yes, yes.
Ahuto Bhagwan Rajna Yajayitva Dvije Nipam Uvasa Kati Chinmasan Suhridam Priya Kamyaya. Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhishthira, saw to it that they were performed by qualified, twice-born Brahmanas. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained a few months. Lord Sri Krishna was invited by Maharaj Yudhishthira to look on the supervision. So this is, after. We have read the sequence. After the war, they all went to see the departure of Bhishma Dev. And after Bhishma Dev's departure, there is departure of Krishna from Hastinapur. And there is arrival of Krishna in Dwarka. We have gone through these chapters. And after that, the birth of Maharaj Parikshit is there. So this sacrifice was performed later, even after the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. So Krishna had been, requested to come again back from Dwarika. So Prabhupada is saying here, Lord Shri Krishna was invited by Maharaj Yudhishthira to look into the supervision of the performance of Yagna, and the Lord to abide by the order of his elder cousin, caused the performance of Yagna by learned twice-born Brahmanas. Simply taking birth in the family of Brahmanas does not make one qualified to perform Yagnas. One must be twice born by proper training and initiation from a bona fide acharya. Very important aspect. Most important aspect. How one becomes a qualified Brahmana. Prabhupada is saying one must be twice born by proper training and initiation from the bona fide acharya. So Akshay Prabhu, you are there? You are hearing? So the purpose of brahmachari life is to train. Otherwise, one who has not undergone training, most of the time he will misapply. He will not be able to properly apply the principles in his life. Because most of those who are even practicing, they have never been trained. They have not gone under the formal training system. It is a must. To the extent the training is there, to that extent, the spiritual conception can manifest. Genuine spiritual conception can manifest. Well, like the Prabhupada was talking about Srila Jiva Goswami, that the desire can come to be a devotee and to make others who are in relation to us, whether it is a dependent wife or a husband or a child, to make them a devotee. Both Prabhupada is talking about both the aspects, is training and initiation by the spiritual master. The once born scions of Brahmanas families are equal with the once born Shudras. See, Prabhupada is going so further. No. The once born scions of the Brahmana families are equal with one born Shudras. Who can write like this or speak? Only Srila Prabhupada. And such a bold acharya he is. And such Brahmana Brandhus or unqualified once born men have no right to accept the priesthood for performing any kind of fruitive sacrifice. Such once born scions must be rejected for any purpose of religious or Vedic function. But that is why in our society, in our community, I don't ask any Brahmana, so-called Brahmana or Vipra to come. There is no need. The best form of worship of the Supreme Lord is by the worship of the Sankirtan Yagya. And I'm very happy. Yesterday I gave this responsibility to Sonika. We were having Lord Jagannath's third installation Utsava. And it was done by the Sankirtan Yagya. Everywhere the deity installation is there. How we invoke the Pran Pratishtha and the deity is through the Nam Sankirtan. Because Krishna is already present in his Nam. And very easily from the Nam he can be invoked in the form of deity. Very important. So if you perform anywhere, any ceremony, do not ask for all this once born Vipras. Not for any trying to appease the non-devotee section. No need. Prabhupada is very clearly bringing out this point that such once born scions must be rejected for any purpose of religious or Vedic functions. Very clearly. Then it is not a spiritual function at all. Then it is like a karma kanda. Lord Sri Krishna was entrusted to look after this arrangement, and perfect as he is, he caused the yagnas to be performed the bona fide, twice born brahmanas for successful execution. This is the last verse. Yeah. Tato rajna abhaya nujata junanta Krishnaya sahabandhubhi yayud dwaravatim brahmanam sarjuno yadubhirvrata. O Sanaka, thereafter the Lord having bidden farewell to King Yudhishthir, Draupadi and the relatives, started for the city of Dwarka accompanied by Arjuna and members of the Yadu dynasty. So Arjuna went with the Lord and escorted him back. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the first canto, 12th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Hare Krishna. So we, by mercy, completed this chapter. And we have the 13th chapter. Still possible. Nothing is impossible. We have how many? 7 chapters left. There are 19 chapters in the first canto till the appearance of Shukadeva Goswami. So this will continue till the 18th chapter, where Maharaj Parikshit will be cursed by the Ramana by Shringi, and then the appearance of Maharaj Parikshit will come. So that will cover the 3 basic questions which were asked by the sages. Okay, so I'll stop here. And if someone has any question or inquiry or comment, please ask. Parenting is not what we think, because we have not been trained. Very important aspect. Today, so much emphasis is given in the purports about parenting. That how Parikshit Maharaj was developed, how he was trained. Prabhupada talks about Srila Jiva Goswami also, and he talks about himself also. So for all those who are actually wanting to be Krishna conscious and reap the benefits of Krishna consciousness, they should, in our life, this opportunity was not there. Because some of you were not born to devotee parents, that they trained us from our childhood. But now we have the responsibility that we don't miss out. And if we do the same, then we are making a farce show. Then that child will not be a devotee. And who is responsible? The child is not responsible. The father and mother is responsible. Okay, I don't see any genuine question or hand coming up, so I'll stop here. It's getting late, 9:30. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, all glory.